Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Studio 70. I'm Shirak.
And I'm Ezu, and today we have a good one. Shirak, this is dealing with the Nicole Kessinger 6:16 a.m. ping
Yeah.
near Frederick. And I can tell you, I don't think any other channel that does true crime is going to go through it the way I'm going through it.
Yes.
So you guys better hang on. Here we go. Yes, I got a lot of information to share with you on that in terms of the routes that she usually went to in the morning, afternoon. But before we get into all that,
Yes, this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research and always be kind to everyone.
yes, and you guys have been awesome in the comments. Please continue to do so. Be kind to each other in every which way. And also, too, if you guys can be so kind and subscribe, because we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers as soon as we can, hopefully by summer, so we can make our plans to go to Colorado and do some live shows out there in the Watts case and the Morphew case and go kind of like to those areas. So that would be awesome. But thank you for all your support so far. And we're going to get right into it. So again, as I mentioned in the intro, we're going to talk about the route that NK used to would go to in the morning and the afternoon in a very unique way. I don't see any other channel doing this. So I think this will be hopefully unique, the information I put together.
Very entertainment.
So
Nice.
yeah, so that would be really cool. So before we get into that specific part too, I want to bring up our Watts crime board. So if you're new to this channel, we have a virtual crime board. Again, no other channel no other channel that I know of has a virtual crime board like we do, in terms of putting together information that's fact, what's understood, what's considered to be true, and more importantly, community vote. Not so much in this case so far, but we're getting to it. But other cases, we ask the community, we poll you guys based on the information you guys answer. We update the crime board, and it's kind of like our community crime board that we agree what's going on with the case. And it's a way for us to kind of communicate and figure out what we think is going on.
Exactly, and this makes us unique as well, because I don't see this crime board anywhere.
No, I haven't seen it either. So
this is awesome.
We're trying to put this forward for you guys to help. And so for today, before we get into all the data, I just want to say that I used the court documentation to get Nicole Kessinger's phone records. That's available there. I think it was 2 billing cycles. So I just want to let you know, this is not something I just got off the internet per se. Is based on all the information I was collecting.
Yeah, this is interesting.
This is all her, phone data, which I know has been shared out there a lot. I just want to, for accuracy, let you guys know that's what's based off of. And so today, just real quickly, if we look at the map below, is roughly where she was living at the time, meaning Nicole Kessinger, which we refer to as NK. And up on top is roughly where Anadarko, where she worked, where it was located. And hopefully I got those addresses pretty accurate there. The more important piece is you could see the route. She could either went Route 25, which goes close to Frederick, or Route 85. You can see in the light blue that also goes up, but a little bit farther away from Frederick. So anything kind of like on the west side, traveling close to 25, is indicated in red. Excuse me, like Longmont, Frederick, Broomfield. And to the right, you see Henderson, Brighton, and Fort Lupton, if I say it correctly. That's all to the east. So when you see something in green, it's really referring to the east. Something in red is referring to the west.
Right, and it seemed like the minutes is similar, 37
yeah,
minutes.
It's very close. So. It's very close. Now, I'll get into that in a sec in terms of some of the differences between those routes a little bit. But before, I think this is really important because I've seen this in other channels. Unfortunately, there's one channel specifically that's sort of negative, unfortunately, to other channels and other people that don't agree with their thinking in terms of NK's involvement, which is very unfortunate. But I built this like fact and fiction thermometer. I put this together to kind of show everyone, just lay it out there. When you're talking more like fictional things on a case, you're going by feelings, what you feel, or you're going by speculation, which is fine. Sometimes in a true crime case, you don't have all the evidence and facts. So the only thing you can do is speculate. And a lot of channels do that.
Yes.
We do it too. But if you're moving left to right, as you go from feelings to speculation, which means you have some information, but you're making more of a judgment. And then logic, you're using logic reasoning to try to decide what's going on.
Yep.
And then what's even stronger than that is having empirical data, which is like information and facts and things you can observe, like say court documents and things like that. And then the really far extreme is taking that information, not just looking at it, but doing some analysis to it. So let's give an example in this specific instance of the 6:16 a.m. ping near Frederick. Okay. If you're going by feelings, NK is the mistress. I feel that she would never go Route 25 unless she was up to no good. Again, that's just an example of somebody saying what the way they feel.
Exactly.
The next one, speculation, could be somebody saying NK had no reason to ever go close to Frederick on her way to work because it wasn't her direct route from home. Now, that's just speculation because maybe they've seen the map and says, well, there's no reason why she'd go that way. It's not a direct route to work. Again, so that's this example in this case, what speculation would look like. Another one is logic. Based on travel time and conditions of Route 25 would be a more viable route to work for NK. So this is where, and I won't go on about it, there's one channel, like I said, mentioned it was a little negative. They were saying they absolutely 100% proved that Nicole Kessinger always took Route 25 because 85 has 11 traffic stops and the speed limit's a lot lower. Therefore, I proved 100%. Well, no, you didn't. That's debunked junk. It's using logic. You could say logically it would make more sense to go that way.
Exactly.
But you don't know unless you have GPS or some of the information we're sharing. You don't know. Maybe she went to Dunkin' Donuts that way, and that just happens to be the better way going there. You really don't know. That's using logic, but it's not really definitive. And you can't say, and unfortunately, this channel said it was 100% proof, but it's not. And we'll get into that. Right. So empirical data would be looking at the phone records that her phone pinged in Frederick the morning of the crime. So we know that, right? A lot of people mention this. Oh, we look at the records. She never went that way. Boom. I could see that she went to Frederick on that morning. That one we could see. It's in the records. That's empirical data you can look at that's captured and so forth. But what else? And when we do the data analysis, so what we're going to do today is talk more about that empirical data, go further and do analysis and explain why that's, in this case, much stronger than any speculation or any logic you're going to come up with. Right. And that's what's going to make this.
I also want to elaborate on that too, because fiction, some of you know this as fiction, but this is a lot of critical thinking, and that's one thing we are good at. We actually go from the facts as well first to then fiction. So we use something that's called affect heuristic. That's basically just working on emotions. We don't work on emotions. We actually do more of the data analysis and getting the data and grabbing that and then do it that way.
Right. And and that's great, Charlene. That's a great point. And that's a great example of what we do, because we try to start on the right side. Mm-hmm. Now, we're not in these cases because there's not lack of information. Like I give an example of the Duos case. A lot of it, especially when she went missing, we don't have a lot of that data. It's not really made available to us that we can do a lot more. Sometimes we have to use logic, or sometimes we have to use speculation. Mm-hmm. But we try to start with the right and work our way down as opposed to the other way. And we try to stay away from being like too, conspiracy theory type of situation. That's a great example. Thank you for doing that. Anything else, Shrock?
Oh, no, I just was basically just saying that, and we all have bias. That's something that's built into everyone. So yeah, and this is all just, bias as well. So that's one thing that we do. There's confirmation.
It's hard, especially when you have
confirmation bias and all of these kind of bias, like the data that's being shown and the data that's not being shown, what's being shown to us and what's not being shown to us.
Yeah, and it's very hard with this case not to have strong feelings about, because it was, it's such a sad case.
It is.
Getting tied to it. But, when you want to try to find out what's really going on, you have to rely upon the data and the logic and the evidence. Mm-hmm. So again, to the right here, this is the map I mentioned before. So now part of the spots you've been waiting for, let's look at the data. So let's look at the first section from July 16th to July 20th. So this is a work week. This is Monday through Friday. Yeah. Okay. And I have the morning on the left and the afternoon in the right. You can see it in gray. And, west towards Frederick, meaning that side where I said Route 25, that's in red. And in green would be going to the right near Henderson, meaning the east. So if you look at that first set of data that we have for that work week, you could see that it's pretty much, I mean, there's some days we don't have enough data, but you pretty much see she went Route 25 or that direction for that week in the morning. But in the afternoon, she mostly came home the other way, Route 85, with exception one day where she's in Frederick. And we'll explain about that more in a bit. So let's roll the rest of the data. So the following week, you could see there's not a lot of data. There's one part where she was up north somewhere that's not even east or west, so it's hard to tell. But in the one day, you see North Glen to Broomfield, so you could see she was moving from east to west, so we're going to assume it's going out west. That's why it's a little bit lighter red, because you'll see that sometimes from Broomfield, she would go to Fort Whoopton, like go that way. So in other words, sometimes because she lived in that North Glen area, who knows what tower it could hit? Maybe it hit the Broomfield, but really she went to Henderson, went that way, or sometimes she might have gone the other way. It's a little tough. That's why it's a little bit lighter color red. But you could see on the way home that week, she did go Route 85 to the east. Again, unfortunately, there's not a lot of data in all these days.
Exactly.
The next section, July 30th to August 3rd, that work week, you can see there most of the time, meaning 2 out of 5 times, because the other 2 we don't know. One's inconclusive. One is maybe she went west, but again, sometimes she would go Broomfield and then go the other way. But you could see that week mostly used the east side, the Route 85, in the morning and in the afternoon. Then the next section from August 6th to August 10th, not enough information in the morning the whole week, unfortunately. And then in the afternoon, mostly going Route 85. One of them, it's hard to tell, but probably went Route 25.
So I had a question, like just for the one that says no information. Sometimes can that be something like maybe she was on vacation that week? That's
no. It's just when she was using her phone, it just didn't. She was maybe not making a phone call, or didn't have it where it registered any information with the company. Okay. So unfortunately, I don't have it. Like sometimes there would be information, but it would say North Glen. Well, that doesn't tell me anything. Like that doesn't tell me if she went east or west, or if she was north or south. Right. There might not be any information, or if it says she's really in her area where she's home, that doesn't help either. Right. She's home. There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, she's home.
So it really depends on when the phone picked it up. And then the last week here, of course, August 13th was the day of the murders. You could see in the morning, Frederick, that's the one that everybody talks about, 6:16 a.m. And then on the way back home on Route 85. So 25 in the morning, 85 probably in the afternoon. So let's look at this a slightly different way. If I put a car, I think she drove a truck. Neat. So I put a little truck. If I put the instances on the morning that we knew where she was for those weeks, you could see most of it was to the west, right? Broomfield, Frederick, Longmont, and only a couple times to the east. But it's proof that she did use both routes in the morning. Maybe not as much, but she did. Okay, that's the whole point of this. Because when somebody says, "Oh, she never went that way," it doesn't make any sense. Well, she obviously went that way at sometimes. Okay.
She did. Sometimes you got to think about it too, like traffic. Sometimes something
maybe traffic. Maybe like, you went somewhere. Maybe
an accident happened, so she can go the other way, which is better
or maybe she was going to a different location or something. But in any event, somebody can't say, "Oh, it's a proof 100%. They'll never go the way because of traffic light." That's not consistent with what the data says. And in the afternoon, you could see she preferred to go eastbound and would go westbound only once in a while. Okay. So this is another way of looking at the data. Sometimes you look at the data and looking at it raw, it's kind of hard to see visually. Right. So this is a good visual way to see it.
I think this is a good job doing it this way.
Shirok likes it. She likes it simple. I do too. And that's part of the thing that I think our channel takes pride in, taking data, maybe sometimes complicated, and trying to make it show it in an easier format, consumable. So again, Shirok, I'm having some fun with you right now. So identify 3. Now this is getting to the data analysis even a little bit further. Okay, we could just look at the data and say, "Oh, empirical data says she was in Frederick that day. She never went that way." Well, if you have to look at it closer, but now we're going to go into further data analysis, and I recognize 3 patterns. So this is the good stuff.
This is the good stuff.
So what do you think the first pattern was? You know a little bit about this case.
Yes, I do. And I know that, she was, in a relationship with
Chris, yeah.
Yeah, with Chris. So it looks like maybe when she was seeing Chris, she maybe went one way. Right?
Let's see.
Wasn't seeing Chris.
So behind door number 1, I wish I had a drum roll. Well, this was the time where Chris was in Colorado.
Yeah,
but her family was in North Carolina. They were in there for, I think, 6 weeks, 5 weeks without Chris, the last week with Chris. Okay. And,
wow,
so he was out there. He got in on the 31st, and I dug through the court documentation. He got there on the 31st, and they came back on the 8th, I believe. I think that's right. I'm trying to recall from memory, but basically that last week he was all there. But if you could see in the first section, where do you see Nicole Kessinger driving in the morning towards Frederick area, right?
Yeah.
And from what I heard, they were getting it on like all the time. So maybe, I'm just saying, what's the word I'm looking for? Allegedly, maybe, whatever. Maybe they were hooking up. I don't know where. Maybe there, maybe somewhere else. Maybe she just stopped by the house. Maybe they had a little something together at Dunkin' Donuts. Who knows? All I know is when he was around, she went that way a lot in the morning. And that's why in Frederick in the afternoon, she probably went over the house that day, I'm guessing. I have to go back and look at the records. I'm sorry, guys. I don't remember off the top of my head. But that would make sense, right?
To me, it looked like it will.
Yep. Now, the second section, I kind of gave it away. But in the second section here, they're all in North Carolina. So when there was no reason to go that way, where did Nicole Kessinger drive? Oh, she drove mostly the other way, Route 85. Because there's probably no reason to go the other way.
Exactly.
Why go that way? I'd rather go this way. I don't know. This is allegedly. I'm just showing you what the data shows. I know it's limited, but you got to show data. Nobody's showing this in this way, I don't think. You got to look at the stuff, right?
Exactly. And not just looking at it, you did a good job to just comb through it and look at the patterns.
Right. And unfortunately, I wish I had more data so I could even say more definitively. We're just going by what we know. Okay, it's not a lot. Well, it's better than just saying she never went this way. She never went. This goes a little further at least. So the last one is Colorado. They're all back in Colorado. And what does she do? The morning she goes by Frederick. And in the afternoon she comes by 85. Unfortunately, we only have that one time. The next day she goes by Henderson on the way back. But I don't have any morning information. That's why it's light green, because Henderson, I'm assuming she came back that way. But she went to Frederick. Now, it's interesting because normally she wouldn't go that way unless Chris was around, which he was around. But we know that she was wondering, she wanted to make sure Chris was at Survey 319. She wanted some proof that he was at 319. Maybe he was just driving by to see if he was home. Did he really leave the house? We don't know. That's speculation now. We don't know.
Exactly.
Some people say, "Oh, she was at the house that morning and helped out." That's all really feelings and speculation.
No evidence on that.
There's no. Yes, she went Frederick, but she might have just went that way to go that way for whatever reason. Number one, number two. Yeah, she could have swung by the house and see what's going on. Yes. It's all of the above. All we can say is that morning she decided to go that way.
Yep.
And we know that when he wasn't there, she would probably normally not go that way. That's all. So let's look at this in a little different data again. So Longmont, you could see that in the morning when Chris was in Colorado, okay, she went this way, mostly all the west when he was in Colorado. When he was not in Colorado, in the morning, she would go mostly, I know it's 2 out of 3 times, but mostly on the east side, okay? So that's a contrast between when he was in Colorado versus when he wasn't, okay? And then in the morning of the day of the murder, in the morning she went to Frederick, or that direction. On the way home, she went 85. So 25 and then 85. So now, putting this all together, if we go back to that thermometer that I created, what can we add to this looking at the data? Well, based on the limited phone records, and I do agree, it's limited phone records. We don't have all the details.
Mm-hmm.
But NK went to work most of the time via 25 to the west. That's sure.
Well.
But used 85 as well. So you can't say she never did. There was no reason to. She went that way. You can't dispute the data. But what we did also find in doing further analysis is based on limited phone records again. NK used 25 in the morning when Chris was around, and 85 when he wasn't around. And I think that's important because that could be a little bit of like, well, then why did she go the other route when, well, he was home, but what was the reason for it? Before it could be like they're hooking up. Well, now he's home with his family. Why is he going that way? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that's just a question based on the data. But what do you guys think? Do you think it's just all coincidence? There's not enough data and it's just, or do you think that's a good observation? I'd like to know, and you're not going to hurt my feelings. I wanted to,
exactly.
I just heard everybody talk, oh, they never went to Frederick, or, oh, she would always go the other way, or she always went this way. And I just wanted to just cut through all that and see what the information
word
says.
We don't use always, because that word it's never
not
always
not through the analysis, right?
So especially when we do things the way we actually do it,
right? Especially when we're doing the analysis part.
Exactly.
We hope so. I mean, we're human. We make mistakes as well, but we try not to. With the analysis, we try to be as clear as we can. We trying really hard to provide that and cut through some of this stuff, but.
And that's one thing about cases, everything always have gaps, right? So whatever we do have, we have to rely on that.
Yeah.
And the things we
some of the other cases,
unknowns.
Yeah, some of the cases we try really hard to use logic, but we have to throw speculation in there because we just don't have enough information.
Exactly.
But when we do, I love digging into that data, going deeper and figuring out what can we draw off. Thank you. Yeah. I was just tired of everybody going back and forth. So I'm like, okay, let me just cut to this. Let me look through all the details here. So it was fun, is what I'm trying to say. You could tell I had a good time putting this together for you guys. And thanks again. And there'll be a lot more. Let us know in the comments what you guys think.
Studio 70.
All right. Until next time.